Old Schoolers, and welcome to Talkin Old School with Roger Franklin Williams. Today we have a very special edition of Talkin Old School, tribute to one of the all-time great teams in Florida Gator history, the 1969 Florida Gators. Old School Gators, remember the 69 Gators, is a team who came into the season unheralded and picked to be a second division SEC by many and last in the SEC by some. Turned out to be a team who from the very first play of the season was one of the most exciting, entertaining, and just pure fun teams in Florida Gator history. New Gators will learn about a team that pulled off huge upsets, posted big blowout victories, and had dramatic come-from-behind wins, all while featuring a high-powered down-the-field passing game coupled with a highly successful running attack, an aggressive, opportunistic defense, and special teams that always seem to come up with a big play at just the right time, all while shattering scores and maybe even hundreds of Gator and SEC offensive records along the way. Yes, the 69 Gators were a true Cinderella team in every way. Unfortunately, even right down to the clock striking midnight and having the magic come to a sudden end only hours after their last dramatic victory in their last game ever played by the 69 Gators. So sit back and hear the story of one of the truly special teams in college football history, the 1969 Florida Gators. Now let's go to some of the men that lived it and made it all happen. First, let's go. First of all, I'd like to thank and we'll introduce three-year starter at offensive tackle, offensive line, all SEC offensive tackle, and offensive captain of the 69 Gators, Max Dean. Max, hey, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, it's great to be here. It's great to be here with my buds.
And thanks for putting this together for us, too. All the work you've done to put it together. Next, starting linebacker, defensive captain of the 1969 Florida Gators, Tom Abdelnauer. Tom, all the way from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Tom, thanks for joining us.
It's great to be down here and seeing all my buddies here. It's going to be a fabulous weekend for us.
And thank you for your efforts to help prepare for the program. Now starting defensive back, punt returner, special teams playmaker, all SEC and first-team All-American, and a former number one draft choice for the New York Jets, Steve Tannen. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Woohoo! I'd like to thank my parents for having me. Good to be here. Great to see guys I haven't seen in a long time.
And you've come a long way as well.
I did. And boy, are my legs tired.
Finally, joining us today, a leading member of the famed Super Softs, started the season with a bang with a 70-yard touchdown bomb to Carlos Alvarez on his first pass as a Gator, rewrote the Florida Gator and SEC record book, and finished his career as the all-time NCAA passing yardage leader, also number one draft choice for the Philadelphia Eagles, starting quarterback John Reeves.
All right. Nice to be here. Glad to be here with the seniors.
All right, yeah, you're representing the Super Softs, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad they let me come along. Thank you.
Guys, let's go ahead and get started. And as I said a little bit, and before we get started, though, I want to thank also my friend and also a key member, a key senior leader and defensive back on the 69 Gators, Larry Williamson, who helped me get started down the road to this broadcast over a year ago and introducing me to Mac and helping to put together an order to the broadcast. And if it weren't for Larry, we wouldn't be here today. So I want to thank Larry Williamson as well. And guys, let's go ahead and get started. I'll go to Mac first. Let's talk about, as I said briefly, coming into that 69 season, the Gators, there were low expectations for the Florida Gators. I said that the 69 Gators were a true Cinderella team. You can't have Cinderella without low expectations. So what I'd like to do is go around the table with all four of you guys, starting with Mac, and just let's go back in time to August and early September of 1969 and tell us what you guys were thinking at that time.
Well, Cinderella starts out with ugly that ends up looking pretty good, and we looked pretty ugly coming into that season. To outsiders, of course, we were all our mother's favorite son, so we didn't think we were so ugly. But we had a very disappointing season the season before. We were picked to be the Gator team. It was supposed to be the year of the Gator in 1968. We had All-Americans Larry Smith, Jim Yarborough, Guy Dennis, Larry Rentz. We had some great players on that team, and we frankly didn't live up to expectations. And the low point came at a time when we played Georgia in a hurricane over there in Jacksonville, and we had made the incredible coaching move of making our head offensive coach the head defensive coach, and the head defensive coach the head offensive coach, and we proceeded to get slammed 51-0. So that season ended up looking pretty bad. So coming into the 69 season, nobody knew that we had anything going, and we were actually voted in the worst 20 teams in America coming into the season. It was a poll. I read it in the newspaper. I was flabbergasted.
I voted in it.
Tom Adelnauer, defensive captain, what were your thoughts?
Well, I had similar thoughts, but it goes back to that 68 team. We only threw 2 touchdown passes in the air that year, and people didn't realize the talent that we had bringing into the season. So nobody was really aware of John Reeves and Carlos Alvarez. I think we were, because we practiced against them, and then we knew what they can do. And defensive-wise, we had a lot of seniors. We had a lot of starters coming back that played hard, played well. We always had good defenses. Coach Ellison's teams were historically in the top 10 in the country for many years. I thought we were going to do well, primarily because I thought we had some guys who could throw the ball and could run the ball.
Steve Tannen?
Yeah. I think that any football team, and you can talk about the worst team or the best team, everybody believes when you start that you're going to have a good season. So I don't think any of us really thought, oh, geez, we're not going to be very good this year. You go into every game thinking you can win every game. We thought that we had something special with the super sauce. We didn't know how super they were, but obviously John had a strong arm and was tall. And so we knew, that we could do something. We were worried, we're playing. Everybody goes out there and we think we're going to win, but this team was, picked as number 1 in the country. And I know I was worried about Elmo Wright doing a dance in the end zone because that would be who I was covering, and he was, a well-known guy. But we all thought that we could win, and luckily enough, John and Carlos hooked up early on and gave us some confidence, and we went on from there.
Speaking of John Reeves, he's here with us. And, John, why don't you give us your perspective? I would suspect your perspective might be a little bit different than these guys. These guys are seniors. They'd been through some of those tough times, disappointing losses. You and Carlos and the other guys were coming in, and you guys were fresh. But give us your thoughts coming into the 69 season.
Right. The rules back then, as people don't know probably today, were freshmen weren't eligible. So we were the scout team for the varsity. We had a 4-game schedule. But I remember the day Larry Smith snapped his hamstring in the practice field. I grew up on the next street from Larry Smith in Tampa. He was like one of my heroes. And he snapped his hamstring, a terrible hamstring tear, about 2 weeks before the season opener in that 68 season. Is the year that they were calling it the year of the Gator. I mean, that was the promo for it.